Good afternoon and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. I am Reverend Cindy Grimes and I'm so glad that you could join us today. I am here at the Center for Spiritual Living and very excited about my guest today. And we have a couple of surprises. And so I think we'll just get started. Let me tell you, for those of you who may be visiting us for the first time, tell you a little bit about who we are and what we are about. And so our welcome here at the Center for Spiritual Living, you can tell a lot about an organization or an individual by what it is that they value. And these are the values of Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. We value spiritual growth and practice, which is the whole reason that we come together, the Center for Spiritual Living. We value love. We value appreciation and community. Freedom of expression, creativity, all that kind of thing is so very important to us. We value health and wholeness, well-being, that's in body, mind, and spirit. We value generosity and we value financial well-being. And our mission at Center for Spiritual Living Ocala is the same as the mission of the larger organization of Centers for Spiritual Living. We are just one of hundreds of Centers for Spiritual Living that are located around the world and in Canada and the United States. And our mission as an organization is to provide spiritual tools and practices for personal and global transformation. Our purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. And our vision is a world that works for everyone. And that means a world that works for me, a world that works for you and your family and your loved ones, and for everyone on the planet. And so today, I'm so very excited. I think I shared with you, I know I did, earlier this year that my word for myself is gratitude. And that is something that is going to be my theme throughout the year of 2021. So I had the idea of bringing people on for this broadcast on Sundays that were important people in my life, my teachers, my mentors, people that I'm very grateful for. And so I'm bringing one of those people to chat with us today, and that person is Reverend Kathryn Knox, who is the director, the dean actually, of the School of Spiritual Leadership that is the Florida campus. And so she is our primary guest for today, but I have some other people that I've invited to join me today so that we could also give Reverend Kathryn a lovely welcome and some gratitude and love. So I'm going to bring in Revs George Stewart and Ed Tansey from the Center for Spiritual Living in Greater Boston. Let me bring my buddies in here. Let's see, we've got to bring you in a different way. There we go. And you are on mute. Hello, gentlemen. Oh, you're muted still.
Oh,
There you go.
hello. Can you hear us
Hello.
now? Hello. Hi.
So we're having a little bit of a technical issue here.
But they're muted.
Let me put you back on mute. It seems that when your mic is on, I'm echoing. So I can't talk at the same time that you are. So what I'm going to do right now is to take myself off. And I didn't even ask you if you would do this. But you guys, being the prayer warriors that you are, would you do a little invocation for us? And I'll bring you into the stream and pull myself out. And then I'll come back in and chat again. How's that? All right. Are you there?
Yes, we are
Are
here.
you up for
Okay.
doing our invocation?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right.
When I do this first step, you do the second step, and I'll do the next
Go
one.
for it, guys.
All right. All right. So let's just take a moment to breathe into center, to breathe into that divine presence, that universal intelligence that is everywhere present and filling all of life with its beauty, its perfection, its wholeness, its peace, its clarity, its guidance, its joy, and its overflowing good. For that is its nature to give of itself to and as and through all of its creation. Therefore, I know right here and right now
that I am one of its creations. I am a unique, individualized expression of it. I am one with it, one of it, and I know that that is my truth. And as that is the truth of Reverend Kathryn, Reverend Cindy, Rick, that is the truth of each and every one throughout the cosmos. All are one with each other, one with nature, one with the universe, and it is this oneness that brings about a unity and a love for each and every expression and individual in this vibration that is called life.
And so, from this place of absolute oneness that has been brought forth through consciousness, I know right here and right now that the joy of spirit is being expressed in this beautiful service, in and as and through each of the speakers, in and as and through all of the technology, making it perfect and whole and complete and functioning in all order and ease and grace, and that there is joy and peace and a great revelation brought to each one who is a part of this service this morning. I know it is good and very good. I trust that it has already been fulfilled in this moment, and I simply rest and let it be, knowing it is so. And we say, and so it is.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Gosh, I love you guys so much. So we're going to just play this game. You guys mute yourselves when I'm talking so I don't echo. And I'll mute myself when I'm waiting for your answer. And that's how we're going to work this thing out. So I would love for you to just say a little something about Reverend Kathryn before we bring her into this mix here. Your introduction, and let me shut myself up here.
Beautiful. So I will begin, and well, the joy of Reverend Kathryn is, having been our teacher and dean and all the different things that she's been in our lives, or at least I can speak for myself in my life. She's an awesome light, and she has brought so much to our organization through her work in the ministry school and even her work before then in the communities that she's been in. I know that she has brought so much to the world, and I am so grateful that she's been a part of my life. Absolutely.
Yeah. And for me, I remember the afternoon we went to lunch with Reverend Kathryn as we were finding a campus to attend, and we wanted to make sure that we would be resonating with the head of the campus, which we felt was very important. And when we met Reverend Kathryn, I must say, her caring, her compassion, her willingness to be in service to a student, and this was very obvious in our lunch conversation with her. And after that conversation, both Rev G and myself said to each other, that's where we belong, because she is such an example of a minister being in service to you for the world. And her guidance, her love, and her support is something that I hold dear to, and I just love the fact that she's such a part of my life. We are blessed to have her. She's a gift, and we love her greatly.
Thank you so much, guys. That was so beautiful. And without further ado, I'm going to bring Reverend Kathryn Knox on into the stream and share her with all of you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. What an exciting time. I did not expect Reverend G and Reverend Ed to be on this call, and I'm so excited to see both of you because it's been a while. And as I've been preparing for this interview, and Cindy and I've been talking, I have all typed down at various times how I got started in doing the Florida campus. And of course, the two of you and Cindy, and then there's Rodney Gittens, were the beginning for me. And it was all of us, all our consciousness in the growth of this spectacular opportunity of being the Florida campus.
You had some big shoes to fill when we all started.
Yes.
We started with Reverend K, and you filled them so beautifully. I mean, you are an integral part of my spiritual education and helping me come through the program, and not just becoming the minister, but later in ordination, which maybe is a story we'll tell later on this in this broadcast of how all that went down. But I'd love to show people a picture. This is just one of the funnest things that we got during our graduation. I don't even know if you remember seeing this, Reverend Kathryn, but
Oh,
here we
yes.
are. There we are.
Oh, how
It-
fun.
Isn't that fun? So there was Rodney as the lion there, and myself, and Ed, and George, and Dr. Ken Gordon as the wizard, and there you are as Glinda the Good Witch. It was such a sweet gift that Rodney gave us at graduation. I just treasure that. It sits in my
Yes.
office. It's just one of my favorite things.
It actually is on my TV stand right now since I office from home. And I brought it out during my last move and placed it there. My grandson came, who's 6, comes over and points at it and says, "Who are all these people?
I love it. Let me
And
see if
why
we
are
can
you there?"
right, you're in there. Let me see if we can bring Ed and George without the let's see if you can come in and not hear the echo, because I'd love to have a conversation. How about now?
So how's the echo?
Ah,
It's
darn.
It's still there, huh?
Maybe if you lower, can you lower our volume?
Mm-mm.
No.
It's okay. We'll have to meet you again. Sorry, guys. Raise your hand if you want to say something.
All right.
And we'll just mute ourselves, I guess, and let them talk. That's how we can work it out for now. So anyway, so let's go from there then. What I want people to know, there's a few things that I wanted to talk about today. First is that whole the path of ministry, right? We all found our own way to this teaching and to the work that we do now, and all of us being dedicated to the vision and mission of the organization, which is to create a world that works for everyone. So I would just love for the people that are watching today to get a sense of what got you on your path, Reverend Kathryn, and how it is that you came to empower so many other ministers along the way.
Well, my personal spiritual path with Science of Mind began 40 years ago. I had just given birth to my first son. I was operating a business out of my home with a friend that I had met when I just moved to Denver. And she said to me, "Oh, after we talked, you have to come to Mile High Church of Religious Science." And so after some talking, I did, and I went to visit around Christmas time of 1978. And I started my first class in January of 1979, and I was home. And keep in mind, my father was a Presbyterian minister. However, he knew and told me many times the most important thing is your faith and your relationship with God. And this allowed me to build that. He chose Jesus to be the way to God, but I didn't need to do that. And that gave me the courage to just keep going in classes. I had a practitioner from the beginning that I was with for 20 years who helped me in my education. So
Wow.
that's how I got started. And before I went into ministerial school, which was about 10 years later, 10 to 12 years later, I had been a college president. I had been in higher education and moved from admissions and director of admissions up to a college presidency. It happened to be in Alaska, and that is where I took my practitioner training with Reverend Nancy Sweeney. And after the company got in trouble and was closing all their campuses, so I left the presidency, was painting the walls in our new home, spiritual home, And Reverend Nancy said, you'd make a great minister.
Hmm.
And so I thought, I recalled when I thought about that in my 20s, but women couldn't be ministers anywhere. And so I called all the campuses, decided to go home to Mile High at Denver since there was a campus there, and did that, and went through school with Reverend Kathleen Vogt and Dr. Fred Vogt at at Mile High Church at that time. Of course, Roger Teal was there too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I began. Now, when I was completing my ministerial training was when I set an intention. And I'm saying this because for all of our lives, I think intention setting and visioning are really important. And this is before Michael Beckwith's visioning at all. In Proverbs it says where there is no vision, people perish.
Right.
And that was what I had learned for myself. So my intention was to be able to take my experience in higher education, especially for profit higher education, and my ministry, my faith, my philosophy in which I live and move and have my being, with me. And so I went about my life and I did both more presidencies and directorships, and I was 20 years in the ministry, some senior ministers, some assistant ministers, but always in the ministry. And it was 20 years later that this opportunity, as the three of you spoke about with Reverend Dr. Kay Thompson. I had already talked to Dr. John Waterhouse at that time because I'd heard that Reverend Kay wanted to retire. And I told him I'd love to take over. And then all of a sudden, she dramatically made her transition that August. And I want to tell you, um, when I went to Denver and asked to take over the satellite, that was fine. I had no idea that Reverend Ed and Reverend G were interviewing me at a luncheon during a convention.
Oh my goodness. Maybe we should have them chime in here.
Yes, I think so.
Yes, let's do that.
Can you mute me too?
Yeah, let me meet you.
So yes, indeed, it was interesting because we did actually interview all these different people at the different campuses, and we found that in that interview, which was when we came back together as an organization as one, back when CSL went from its separation to its reunion, that we were here we were in of all places in New Orleans, and we're sitting there having lunch together, and you had no idea that we were checking you out. But it was, and I think that there was this absolute connection. It's like Reverend Dr. Kay Thompson was there bringing us together,
yes.
and it felt so right, and it felt so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I can say that everything that I shared and you were talking about is I believe ministry is a life of service. And you're expressing the individualized expression that you are of the divine. Because I had made up my mind, people would say, "Who are you?" or "What do you want to do?" Especially during ministerial school, that you go through all those testings and so on. And I knew that who I am was a divine expression of the universal spirit, and that My goal was to be a beneficial presence wherever I was and to whomever I could be of service to. And knowing about the for-profit higher education uh, corporations and business, how important it is that students come first. And
Yeah,
so, right.
I think you have such a great combination of wisdom and heart and courage and being able to hold people accountable, because it is that balancing act, right? Of your coaching folks along that sometimes are not even seeing their own worth or their own value, or not stepping up in the ways that they could. And so how you create the space for the students to be able to do that, to show up and go through all of our stuff and come out on the other side that much better and stronger. And so it really takes a special hand or personality somehow to be able to do that. And so I thank you and admire you for that.
Oh, well, thank you. And it's my honor and privilege to be able to do for that with someone, be part of their spiritual journey as the growth is taking place, and to give them a different viewpoint of how they are looking at their life and saying, I can't do this because of these outer circumstances. And that's why it is so important as we talk about the becoming a minister, that it does take courage to make the first phone call, to discover what customized program could be put in place for me or the students it's calling to fulfill my calling or my vision of ministry.
And we have such a diverse base, that we draw from. I mean, people come from all over the place in all walks of life. And I think many of us, well, maybe I'll speak for myself, grew up with what a picture of what a minister is supposed to be and look like and act like. And we are so diverse in our community. So, so very diverse. And the fact even that we have female ministers in the first place. That was a big thing for me when I first walked into the center and saw Reverend Peggy Hostetler standing in the front of the room. And she quoted something from the Bible, and she quoted, I don't know if it was Rumi or the Bhagavad Gita. I just was like, all of these different pieces came together, and she was able to pull out the common threads. And I was just so just moved, and it created all kinds of possibility for me. Because I also, when I was a kid, was thinking, well, maybe I want to be a nun. And then it was like, no, I want to be a priest. Why do I want to be a nun? I want to be a priest. And of course, little girls can't be priests. And so I put that all to the side. And then I found this amazing philosophy and teaching where it didn't matter what background you came from. You could be a woman, you could be gay, you could be straight, you could be anyone, and show up and be yourself and be able to serve.
Yep,
And
that
create
is so
that
true.
works for everyone, right? Yeah.
That is right.
Yes, yes. I love it. Yes. I'm going to mute us and let Ed and George talk there for a minute here.
Okay, you asked about like what got us into ministry, and hearing you say, Cindy, that you knew, as a child at a younger age, that you wanted to do something like in kind of being a priest. I had no desire, no idea of me wanting to do anything in relation to anything that was having to do with with God. I mean, I was at a point I was so against religion. I was tricked into going to a center for spiritual living in 2002 by some very dear friends who were concerned about my well-being, because I was in a very dark place. And I remember sitting there and hearing the doc speak for the first time, and I looked and I saw people with smiles on their face being so kind and gentle with each other, and I said, I want more of that. And from 2002, where I was at the low of my life, to 2015, I think, when we became ministers, right? It was 2015.
2015.
I'm at the high of my life, and I figured this is what clinched it for me. when I started taking all these classes and realizing the the message that this philosophy founded by, Dr. Ernest Holmes was bringing about, the empowerment, the liking yourself, the knowing the power that one has, I said, I want to share this with everybody. Anyone who will listen, I want to share it. I want to teach this. And I was a professional teacher for like 33 years before I retired in that field. So that was my desire. I had no idea or no inkling of me ever becoming a minister. It just fell into place where that was like, this is how I can share this. And one thing I want to say about Reverend Kathryn, which I when I think of this word, I think of her, the word empowerment. Reverend Kathryn has a knack. She empowers all of her students. She holds them responsible. She holds them definitely responsible, as we all know as being her students. But man, she empowers each individual student. I mean, we've seen this growing up from the campus, and that's something, Reverend Kathryn, I so appreciate. Knowing you and having you being such a part of my life, you empower people. You're such a wonderful way shower. But man, you hold everyone to high standards, which is really good because, you really trained us. You really did. And I thank you for the training, and I thank you for how you empowered me.
Right. And I have to say this as we talk about the diversity that we are as ministers in this movement. For me, I love it because I have such a freedom. This morning for our Sunday service, we actually played a song from a documentary from a drag queen. Yeah. That is the most powerful and uplifting song I've ever heard in my life. Story, Pink Feather. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you haven't, you should. It is powerful documentary about the whole life of this drag queen celebrating 20 years of being a drag queen. But the song itself actually was perfect for our service, and I used it. So it was that freedom of knowing that I could speak from the heart, yes, which I received from the beautiful teaching that you offered, Reverend Kathryn, and all of the teachers at yes, the campus. And that it's beautiful, and then it opens it up for everybody to be yes, welcome, and that's what it's so much yes, about. So.
Thank you, guys. That's just so beautiful, so beautiful. I want to say that I think so much of the journey of ministry, at least for me, has been in healing myself and finding my own value and my own worth. And it starts there. And when you get to that place, then it's easier to help others to find their value and worth. And that's so much of this ministerial path, for people who may be thinking, well, I don't know, maybe I could do that, or, you're on the fence, that it's as much about the inner growth and the inner journey as it is about doing anything for anybody else.
Yeah. And that's why I love it, how they call practitioner 1 right now the inner journey, because it does address yourself inwardly, and then you go into the second year of practitioner, and you can come out and continue to grow in the ministry. I know I've heard several people talk about, but I know everything when I'm a practitioner. But the powerful professional teachings with Holmes Institute and the distance classes like world religions and understanding the Bible, and then going into the scientific area of science in the brain, and then there is classical philosophy. So you get a more in-depth look at all of those areas before, as you're learning to be a leader in our movement and spread our phenomenal philosophy and teachings of Ernest Holmes and Science of Mind to the rest of the world, to be a leader in that through your ministry. And then in the ministerial classes, which are so much more practical, and that is about first ministry and about contemporary applications and pastoral care and counseling and so on. And then we have practicums. So you get to apply hours of actual you know, uh, work or internship
Hmm.
at different centers and doing different things in all of the areas of ministry that you see your minister take part in. So you're also get that. So it's well rounded, I believe, so that when you all came out, you feel like that you are on the same wavelength, the same standards as any other ministerial profession or denomination.
Even more so, I think, in some ways. Just to recap, what you said, our education included courses in science, right? Quantum physics,
Yes,
in psychology, in
correct.
philosophy, in leadership,
Hmm.
in pastoral care, the practical day to day kind of things,
Yeah,
and,
and education.
and
Yeah.
education, right? And it's always learning for yourself and then learning how to teach.
Hmm.
Right, and the speaking, I mean, it was such an incredibly well-rounded, education that we
Hmm.
got. I know when I came out of the program, I felt very, very well prepared. Of course, ministry throws its zingers at you, and, it's an adventure. It's a wild adventure, and crazy things happen, but, you feel like you always have that tool chest. I got that, bag of tools here that I can go and reach in and take what I need at the moment to deal with whatever thing is in front of me.
And plus, in ministerial school, you are developing friendships and colleagues that will stand the rest of your life because you are in the same philosophy. I knew that from my father because I went through as a child through his seminary program and how he had so many friends from his seminary days, even though he was in a pulpit. And I had the same thing. A person that I went through ministerial school 27 years ago is still my best friend and is our registrar here at the campus, and brought with her that knowledge from being a registrar at two of my colleges, and a university and one college. So it was exciting to. I think it was 2014. We'd been running the satellite, and we had several classes, and then had an opportunity to answer from the home office an RFP to become a full-fledged campus. And
Yeah.
that was, and I remember that it was the three of you and Rodney and myself. We had five people that were praying and knowing and setting the intention to and assisting with answering the request for proposal and knowing that Florida was the right place for it to be established.
Yeah. There are so many things that happen behind the scenes that people don't see. And the connections that you talk about, when I think about my personal, like Cindy the minister, not Cindy a CSL or any other thing that I do, like what my brand would be or what my logo, and in my mind it's a picture of people, I don't know if you could see, but holding hands, right? So you're always bringing someone up, and you're always being pulled up at the same time. It's like when we went to Jamaica, remember that one of our
Yes.
cruises that we took in the program. And I don't remember if we went to Dunn's River, but there's that image of people holding hands and helping one another up the
That's
mountain,
right.
which was really slippery and treacherous and had all this water. But if you're together as a chain, you help one another up. And that's one of the great things that I got out of the ministerial program was that feeling of being part of that, where I'm always mentoring someone and someone is always mentoring me, and we all grow and evolve together. And that was one of the great takeaways that I got from the
Yeah.
ministerial program. And I
And I
think
have to,
that groundwork.
and I have to say, one of the best things, and this came from Ed and particularly George also, was one of the things that I committed to when I say students come first, that we were financially friendly. And so by going on a cruise for 5 to 7 days and offering classes where the days would be spent in the classroom on a cruise in a meeting room. And then there was obviously free times and a day in port where we didn't meet in class, but we went sightseeing and adventuring. And but yeah, we were all family in one cruise, and that it was less expensive than going to a center and having to buy our own food and pay our own hotel and whatever else the charges were. It was easier to go on a cruise together, and that's what Cindy was referring to. She talked about, remember Jamaica?
How many graduate programs can you be in where you're in class on a cruise ship? We played hard, we worked hard, we laughed together, we cried together. It was just an amazing experience. And I know Ed is chomping at the bit to say something because cruising is his favorite thing. So let's bring you back in, Ed.
Yes, thank you. And I will say this: when we would tell people, we're going with our campus on a cruise for a seminar or everything, they'd look and say, "Oh yeah, you're doing no work." We worked so hard during the day. I mean, people would look at and say, like, "My goodness, we were in those conference rooms all day. We worked really diligently, and even when we had our off, our off, we went to an excursion off the boat." We all had work to do. We had homework to do as we were sightseeing. So, I mean, we worked hard, but what I liked about it, we played in luxury. When our work was done, we brought it to another level, but the cruise atmosphere really, I think, for me, cemented the relationships. The family, like my extended family, the ministers that I grew up in ministry with, the people I graduated with, Cindy, etc. Obviously, but the thing is, that you're so rooted because of the interactions that came from the campus, and I was always pleased that Reverend Kathryn, went along with the idea of the cruise thing because it really, I think, cemented relationships, and it was such a wonderful way of learning, and also having some fun. So thank you for that. Yes. Yeah.
As I said, I feel like I'm a conduit for the divine. It has been my joy, and now we've been doing it, or I've been doing it for 6 years, from the beginning of 2014 to now, that it's like a container that anyone can enter, customize their path between 2 and 6 years to be licensed as a Center for Spiritual Living minister, and with the foundation of the Science of Mind principles. And that's what I hold. And so it's not like I'm doing everything. It's like I'm holding a container for it to happen. And that is a grand joy. And I have to say, because you reminded me, Reverend George Stewart, we were on a big cruise, one of the biggest cruise ships that we had booked, and they had karaoke during the nights during the week, and then there was a contest on a Friday night for all of the karaoke singers, and I think there were like 6,500 on the ship, and George was number one.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. It was just such great fun. So much fun. I wish we weren't having the tech issues so we could all go back and forth a little bit with a little greater ease.
Yeah.
But as I'm looking at the time, we need to start wrapping it up. And what I want to ask
Oh,
you,
wow.
closing, is tell us the future. What do you see for the ministerial program? I mean, I see such need in our world right now for our teaching, for our message, And I know or I believe the organization sees that same need, which is why we're finding so many different ways to help move people along and help them become ministers,
Hmm.
easier, for the qualified people. So, if you have anything to say about that, the future of Florida campus.
Well, I think the most important thing, because enrollment has gone down, at least at all campuses, because we meet as deans every 2 weeks. And our 2021 goal is to enroll 50 more people nationwide into the ministry. And we don't have here in Florida a CSL next door to go talk to. But if a person, like we had been called to the ministry even before we knew where we would go or what we would do, is that they pick up the phone and give me a call personally. Because the most important thing about to know, because we've talked about everything you gain and all the benefits, is the courage that you take to make the initial phone call. And that there's no decision, oh my gosh, I know ministry would be too expensive for me, or I know ministry would just take too much time and I need to continue working. Because there is such a plan for you to go 2 to 6 years. And I've had students take 6 years, and there are fabulous ministers, and some that have gone through in 2 years because they had the time and the treasures to do it that quickly, and the talent. It's about time, treasures, and talents. And so by asking and having a conversation with you, also, you do not have to be a practitioner to start on a ministerial path, but that takes a conversation to find out about you. Because some people walk into a Science of Mind center and they are home, and they know right then they want to be a minister. So it doesn't matter when you choose to call, but I encourage you to get the facts before you push down or deny the call with a passion.
Thank you so much, Reverend Kathryn. There's so much more we could talk about. We may have to do another
Oh, sure.
part two. And hopefully our tech will be working better, and Rodney will be able to join us. I do have a question on here from Lida, who is at my center, a member of our center, who is asking about practitioner training. So I want to invite you to join us on our Zoom call after this. And
Okay.
Lita's going to be on there. And if you guys want to join us as well, Rev Ed and Rev G, please do join us on Zoom. The link is in the chat. And I think that's it. Anything else from you, Reverend Kathryn? And then I'll bring Rev Ed and Rev G back in to say some final words.
No, I just, Cindy, if you can put my telephone number, that's the easiest way. For me, I am a people communicator, and I know how important it is for me to learn about your life. And I invite anyone to give me a call.
All right. Well, do you want us to put your number in here, or do you want to do that in the Zoom later?
I don't care. You can put it in now.
Go ahead. Tell us your number.
813-956-3870. We have students, remember, from Australia, UK, and Canada.
Yes. 813-956-3870. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Put it in there in the chat.
Okay.
There is Reverend Kathryn's contact information. And I'm going to bring Ed and George back in for you guys to say a couple of final words. And then, Reverend Kathryn, would you pray us out after Reverend Ed and Rev G speak?
I'd be happy to.
Terrific. Thank you. Okay, guys, unmute.
Well, thank you.
I'll let you go.
Well, I'll just say thank you so much for inviting us, Cindy and Reverend Kathryn. We just love you. We are so pleased to see how many ministers you have produced from the Florida campus. Birthed, that's right. And it's like you're making such a difference. And thank you for that. Thank you for your love and compassion. And I'm complete. Thank you.
I would say that, absolutely. And, this, we just got this wonderful little text that said, "Hey, can you join?" And we just said, "Well, hey, yeah, we can." Yeah. So we're just so glad that it worked out, that Spirit unfolded this the way it did, and as it always does.
Yes.
And just so grateful for being a part of this morning. And Fat Ed is happy as well here to join us. So thank you, and we're deeply grateful, and you'll always be the shoulders that I stand on in ministry, and I thank you for that, Reverend Kathryn.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you guys
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yes.
So beautiful.
It's such my pleasure and honor to be here.
Okay.
Are we ready for the praying out? And for me, that's an expression of gratitude, knowing that with Thanksgiving, all things are so possible. It's about appreciation, gratitude, thanksgiving, as we know that we are expressions of the divine and that God is in charge, that divine is in charge. And so as we create our intentions, we know that we will manifest them in our particular individual divine lives. And so I am grateful for Ed and George and Cindy and all the light they are bringing to the world and the spreading of our Science of Mind teaching that is so dear to my heart. And so everyone that can hear my voice, know that you are blessed, that you are one with us here on the screen. If you hear our voice, you are one with us, living in that universal divinity that is truth, that is light, that is joy, that is happiness. And so with all of that, I know that this session was so divinely blessed. And I am glad that each one of you chose to come in at any time and join us. And so with that love and that gratitude, I know that it is all done in the mind of God. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much for saying yes. And thank you, Ed and George, for saying yes at that last second. It was maybe an hour before we came on. I thought I had this download. It was like, what if Ed and George and Rodney could come on? So I sent them a quick text message and said, come join us if you can. And they said yes. And it was just wonderful. So thank you all. Love your beautiful faces. And we'll see you on Zoom in a little bit.
Okay. Love you guys.
Love you too. Oh my goodness, how fun that was. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. It is time for us to share gifts and tithes. Let me pull up our little prayer. Oh, is that gone too? Things are disappearing in my tech today. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, this looks right now. All right. The Center for Spiritual Living Ocala exists because of the donations of the people that believe in our vision and our mission and support our center. And so we are very grateful for any tithes or gifts or offerings that you can give us. And we've tried to make it really easy for you. We have a way for people to pay to give us donations via text message. And what you do is you text that message going across the screen to that phone number, 352-320-5110. And when you text from your phone, you put in the amount of money that you would like to send us, and you hit send, and it goes from your bank account to ours as soon as it's set up. And so it's very easy. And the other way that you can do it is to donate via PayPal at www.cslocala.org/donate. And so we have an affirmation here if you want to just say it to yourself or just listen to my voice as I say it. It is the nature of life to give of itself. As it is the tree's nature to bear fruit and the flower's nature to bloom, it is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed and I am a blessing. I am grateful. And I do feel so, so very blessed. And I know that I am blessed. And I pray that I am a blessing to the people whose lives I touch, and know that you are a blessing to every life that you touch. And so I just affirm that your week goes well, that any challenges you may be looking at become opportunities for your greater yet to be, and that your life just goes beautifully. So I'm going to look. I see a few more comments have come in here. Just some messages here. I hope you can join us on Zoom after this. The information is in the chat, and we just take a little opportunity to connect with one another and share some prayer requests and just see where folks are at this week. And so I pray all is well in your world, and we'll close with the prayer for protection that comes from James Dillett Freeman. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And I affirm that all is well in your world. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next Sunday. Love and blessings.